Welcome to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, a homeschool mom, entrepreneur, and educator with over 20 years of experience in the areas of elementary and special education. It's my mission to help you create lifelong learners and embrace a holistic approach to education at home. I'll be sharing practical strategies, inspiration, and resources to support your family. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom, a business owner, or balancing work and homeschool, you're in the right place to connect with a community that values education just as much as you do. Join us each week as we ditch the stress, embrace the joy of learning, and set your family up for a lifetime of success.
Hey there, friend. Welcome back to another episode of the Home Education with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, your home education expert. And I just want to start off by saying thank you. Thank you for tuning in week after week and being here with me, part of this amazing community. I am so grateful for you. And the topic this week that we're going to dive into is a conversation that has come up multiple times for me with many different moms in my community. So we're going to dive into it, but it's a lot of I run a business or I work, but I still want to homeschool my kids. I still want to make sure that they are getting the best education. How do I make that happen? How do I make sure that I can still work full-time or part-time, run a business, and homeschool my kids? Make sure that I'm setting them up for success. Make sure that I'm doing all the things because already you feel the pressure. You feel that there's so many things that you have to do. How could you even possibly add in one more thing? That's part of my story. I was so inundated with all the things that I was like, there's no way. How am I going to do this? And then just slowly, things start to change. You start to make some shifts, and it happens. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because you don't have to choose. You don't have to choose between being present with your kids and pursuing your goals and your dreams, because we were made to go after it. We were designed by God. He has put these thoughts and dreams in us to say, yes, I called you to do this. And maybe it's the ministry of motherhood, the ministry of teaching, the ministry of music, of all of the ministries, right? Whatever He called you to do, step out in faith and let's make it happen. But you don't have to choose your child's education for that. And we're going to talk about that. How can we do both of these things? You don't have to choose between running a business and creating these meaningful learning experiences for your kids at home. You could do both. We do it. I've done it for years, and I'm here to show you the way of how I have done that. Because yes, there are hard days. Yes, it can be challenging. But the reward to see it grow and to step into your calling and to watch your children grow, all happening at the same time, is a beautiful thing. And you don't have to choose. Spending time with your kids, being with them, supporting them in all their things, or having time for yourself. You can have both. I promise you. We don't have to have that pressure of I have to give up everything and I have to let it all go because I have to spend 8 hours teaching my kids. Nope, that's not it. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that more. You don't have to give up your business because you're like, well, I already work 9 to 4 on my business. How can I possibly add in educating my kids? I promise you it's easier than you think. Now, if you have a full-time job, maybe it goes down to a part-time. Maybe you figure out, how can I work different hours? So then that way I can work earlier in the day or later in the day and have time to educate my kids. There are workarounds. And here's the thing, if you don't ask, if you don't take a step in faith and say, you know what, I'm going to take my best shot. I'm going to ask if it's possible for me to work earlier in the day, or I'm going to ask to work later in the evening, or you step away from that. Guys, I stepped away from a full-time teaching career in Pennsylvania, which is difficult to receive, and I knew that I was called to do it. I knew from the time I went into teaching that I was not going to be in the classroom for my entire career. I didn't know what that looked like. God had a plan. I didn't know what that plan was going to be, but He knew. I stepped out and people said, "You're crazy." Our pay is not great at the beginning, right? As a teacher, you don't get paid and compensated for what you actually put into your children and your students, everything that you put into it up front. But later on, you do. You get compensated. Your retirement's great. The benefits are amazing. At least they were for me. That was the biggest downfall, right, of me not working in the public school setting. But all of the other rewards far outweighed the fact that my insurance is not that great. But I promise you could do this. You could make some changes. If you feel called to educate your kids at home, to pull them out of the system and say, you know what, I don't like the way things are going. I don't like what they're talking about. I don't like what they're teaching them. Guys, I have seen some awful video clips or images of things that are being taught in the public school setting that I would immediately pull my children out of. And I'm grateful that I never had to have them in that setting. Now, don't get me wrong. I was a public school teacher. I have so many acquaintances that I am still friends with, and they do a phenomenal job. I'm not talking about the good teachers. I'm not talking about the ones that pour in to their students and say, I see you. I see your potential. I'm talking about all the other ones that are there to collect a paycheck, that are there to, I don't know why, right? They're not pouring into the kids the way they should be. I digress. Obviously, you could see I'm so passionate because there are some amazing teachers out there. There are people that are pouring into our children. But unfortunately, there are also people that are not. And what they're putting out there terrifies me. To know that they think that they can, they're shaping the minds of these children. And if we're not careful, we need to pay attention to who is shaping the minds of our children. And guys, this is going to be kind of off topic, but this goes with what I'm talking about now. I listened to a sermon today from a guest pastor at our church today. Guys, it was phenomenal. If you are listening and you would like to see this sermon, find me on social media, send me an email, and I will send you the sermon. Because this gentleman, this pastor, was incredible. Tears streaming down my face, especially as an educator. But he was talking about the people that shaped his life. He started with nothing, born into poverty, born with an illness, that his bones weren't forming correctly, and developed into this phenomenal artist. So talented, guys. Like, I looked at the pictures and I was like, there's no way. He painted those. His story was incredible. And it just was that reminder of who is around your children shapes them. Now, he did share the story of the first teacher that he had in first grade poured into him. He said, I'm an artist. And she gave him the space to be an artist. His second grade teacher punished him for that. He would draw and he would be punished for it. His third grade teacher gave him space, gave him the tools. So yes, it's not all going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time. There are going to be hard moments, but the Lord is going to see you through those moments. And He's saying, just wait. Just wait. I have something even better for you. And I feel that that could be the same thing here. Just wait. Yes, you may be going through a challenging time. Yes, this may be hard, but I promise you, the reward on the other side is going to be far greater. So stick with it. Think about, what do you actually want for you, your family, your children, your future, your legacy, right? It doesn't even have to be about right now in the present. What do you want for generations to come? I know for me, I wanted to break cycles. I wanted things to look different. Oh, we are doing that. We are making it happen. It wasn't always easy. It was hard. But step by step, moment by moment, we are breaking cycles and we are seeing the reward. So I just encourage you, if this is something that's on your heart, pray about it, ask questions, reach out to me. Guys, I really love hearing from you, and I'm so grateful to have you in my community, to have you here. So I want to ask you, do you feel like you have to make a choice? Do you feel like you have to choose between being present with your kids, pursuing your dreams and goals, and creating that meaningful learning experience at home? Do you have to choose? I want to know. Join us in the Home Education with Ease Facebook group and share your thoughts, your honest thoughts. I would love to know it. Because yes, some of us feel that there's no way we could do it. We already are doing so much. Here's something that I want to share with you. When you are thinking about your family, what you want between you and your spouse, not anyone else. What do you want for your children? Or maybe it's between you and your kids. Maybe you're a single parent. Or who is your support system that you totally trust? Because that matters. You need to block out all the other noise and say, you know what? I don't care what that person says. Oh, they're weird for homeschooling. I mean, that was the stereotype for homeschoolers, right? They're weird. Yeah, I want to be weird now. I want to stand out and I want to be different, right? Or they need to socialize. Or, well, what? Are you going to be able to teach them all the things? They need to have different teachers. They need to learn how to stand in line. They need to learn this, right? You probably have heard all of the things, right? I promise you, they are not one single concern in my world. Not one single concern. My kids socialize. They just performed beautiful music pieces in their piano and voice recital. They performed on a stage and did the Lion King musical. They are making friends constantly. Yes, we have to put ourselves out there and we have to do these things. But don't let that be an excuse of, I'm not going to do it because they're not going to be able to socialize. That's not true. I won't be able to teach them the math, the hard math. Maybe you don't. Maybe you find a tutor. Maybe you partner with me and I help you out. You use YouTube. There are ways to make it happen. And you don't have to compare to anyone else. Oh, well, what's this neighbor going to think of me? It doesn't matter. It does not matter what that neighbor thinks of you. What matters is what happens in your home. Are you starting to find peace and joy in the fact that, yeah, I want to be home with my kids. I want to have slower mornings. I want to go back to the simple way things are. I want to turn my phone off during the day and say, you know what? I'll get back to you when I have the time and the capacity. I don't have to be on alert every second, right? Guys, this is all so important when you are thinking about these transitions, right? So important. So you can do this, I promise you, because it does not have to look like traditional school. We have been conditioned to think school looks a certain way. I can promise you it does not need to look that way. It does not need to look like 8 hours at a kitchen table, sitting down, doing worksheet after worksheet, listening to a, reading and, I don't want to say a sermon, or a lecture, because that's not necessarily it, but reading from a book and then answering these questions. And I promise you, it does not have to look like that. I know from experience that my children have had a totally untraditional school experience. Untraditional in the sense of nothing like school, right? And I had one mom that was looking to homeschool, and she said, what has been the biggest thing that you had to figure out? And I said, unlearning that it doesn't have to look like school. Unlearning the things that I did as a teacher. That was a challenge for me to say, you know what? No, you don't have to sit down and raise your hand. That's crazy. I'm working with you one-to-one. Just ask me a question. Yes, you can stand up and do your work. You can go sit on the couch and do your work. It does not matter where the work gets done, how the learning happens. I have had so many impromptu lessons at our kitchen table while we're having breakfast or lunch or while we're going on a walk. Learning literally happens everywhere. And we have to make time for that. We have to say, instead of pushing them to the side and saying, you know what, I don't have time to answer that question, we make the time for that question. We say, you know what? Yeah, let's learn more about that. You know what? I don't know the answer, but let's look it up together. And let's both learn. Because guys, teaching your children to be lifelong learners is going to benefit them far more than so many other things. You can learn anything, especially with the technology that we have nowadays, right? We don't have to memorize all of the things. Yes, it's great, and that helps to exercise our brain, right? We need to exercise that muscle, because if not, we don't use it, we lose it, right? It's like your body. Your brain is a muscle. You need to exercise it. But fill it with the things that matter. That's what it's all about. I don't need you to sit here and list all of these events in order or know all of this useless information. Let's go learn about it in a way that is meaningful to you and individualized to your specific learning style. That's how we do it. That's how we do it here at EduPlay. Because that's what it's all about. It does not have to look like a traditional school setting. My kids took an assessment for the end of the year. So at the end of the year, we do the CAT testing, right? So I know in public school, there's all the different PSSAs or GMAS or, right? Pennsylvania, Georgia, every state has their own. If you are not in the United States and you are listening to this episode, I would love to know what assessments look like in your school or what that looks like, because it is different everywhere you go. And my children did their assessments. Now, like I said, untraditional. We learn on the fly. And I know as a teacher, it's a little bit different, right? They can ask me a question and I can pretty much teach them a lesson instantly, right? Like, oh yeah, you don't understand or you don't remember how to divide fractions. Let me show you real quick. Oh yeah, now I remember, Mom. I forgot, So it's things like that we can do very quickly and easily. And if you join, I can show you and teach you how to do that as well, because it's about being confident as the parent to be able to teach our children, so then that way they are independent confident, and kind, right? It goes both ways. So it's about me linking arms with you, but also setting your kids up for success. So you get a little bit of both there, right? It's not just one or the other. It's not just a curriculum. It's not just a membership. It's a combination. And that's the beauty of it all. So they took this assessment and they did amazing. They were above grade level in all areas. And I was like, right there, guys. And I'm talking to them because sometimes, even I say, you know what, we need to get better with our schedule. We need to get better with our systems. And life happens sometimes, right? But being able to see that, and if you know me, if you've heard me, test scores really don't mean much to me, right? Yes, it's a great indicator to say, oh yeah, okay, I see that you were able to do this and you're on level or above level, right? But to me, where are you at skill-wise? That's what I want to know. I don't care what grade you're in. I don't care what test scores you got, right? Can you do the skill? And can you continue to learn new skills? That's what's important here. You want a lifelong learner. But seeing their scores, I said to them, and I showed them, and I said, listen, I said, you have done absolutely amazing. And that is us learning throughout the day. That's not sitting here for 8 hours doing lesson after lesson, book after book. No, it's learning naturally. It's learning with a few mini lessons here and there. And if that's something that you're like, yes, I want more of that. I want it to be peaceful. I want it to be enjoyable and easy. Let's chat. Because I do know that sometimes we have to unlearn a lot of things. Our kids have to unlearn and we have to unlearn. So then that way we can unlock this new level. So keep that in mind too. It may not happen overnight. It may take time. And that's okay. So guys, you can see I'm so passionate about this because it really is so near and dear to my heart. It's what I love. I love to be able to incorporate my kids into my day. And I used to say this quote all the time, way back at the beginning. It's not about our kids being in the way. It's about them being a part of our day. And it's including them in all the things. If you're making pancakes for breakfast, have them come over. Have them look at the recipe. Hey, this is the recipe. This has the ingredients. This has the steps that we have to do, and this is how we make it. Read me the first ingredient. How much do I need to put in there? What do I do next? We've talked about it. In the kitchen, how many skills you're actually teaching them just by being in the kitchen. Fractions, directions, time, all of those things. Get them in the kitchen. Let them stir. Use those fine motor skills. Mix up the batter, right? Have them set the table. Lean into the stuff that they love. Because right now, that's what's important to them. Learn about it. Talk to them about it. Make that connection with them because that's all they're looking for. They want you to take interest in what they're excited about. Alex has been watching all of these YouTube videos of a chef, and he's so into it. He's made meal after meal. Go for it, buddy. But there's no pressure. I don't put any pressure on them, right? Ella has created a dog business with different services, but I don't put any pressure on her. It's the same thing with their piano recital today. Practice. You go to your lessons, do well. Do the best that you can do, but there's no pressure. Because when there's no pressure and you feel safe and secure, you're going to do exceedingly better than you think. And that was the same thing with the testing that the kids took. It's never about pressure for me. That's something that breaks my heart because I tutor students and they have said to me, Miss Christine, my teacher told me that if I don't do well on this test, I don't get to go on to the next grade. Oh, guys, that broke my heart Because number one, these children then are so panicked about this test and have so much anxiety to say, I have to do amazing, otherwise I'm stuck in this grade and I don't get to go on. And I was like, that's not true. Whoever is saying that it's not true. You're adding anxiety to these children. Let them just do it. Just go for it. Do the best that you can do. I want to see you do well. And I know why some of these teachers say it, because some of these kids are not going to take it seriously. I get that. But the ones that it adds this stress to, now they're going to bomb it, or they could bomb it, because now they're all in their head. Instead of just saying, go out there and do the best that you can do. I'm proud of you. Everything that you do, you're doing amazing at it. Keep encouraging them every single step of the way. Involve them in what you are doing. And I know if you work, that may be difficult, right? You're not going to be able to say, hey, come join this conference call with me. That's not it. But what you could do is you could say, hey, mommy's got to get on a conference call. Why don't you sit over here next to me? They're not in the view of the camera. And you can draw me a picture. Or you can build this puzzle. Or you can do whatever is going to occupy them. And set the expectation and say, you know what? I have to be on this call. I have to be paying attention and listening. So you can't distract me. But as soon as I'm done, we're going to play a game together. We're going to build a puzzle. Or you fill their cup before the call. And you say, you know what? I have 5 minutes. Let's have a dance party. Let's throw the ball back and forth. They want your attention. And if you run a business, include them in that business. So the other day, my husband fixed up my attic and he added more storage space, because I have acquired so much and I'm so grateful that people think of me often, and I go to yard sales and I buy things that I'm like, yes, I need this, I probably don't. I probably have more than enough, right? But books and games and anything educational, or I've also saved so much from when my kids were little. All of the toys that I thought were so engaging that I was like, this is something that I'm going to keep. So when I do open my own academy, I have it, and I have what my kids had. And so I have all this stuff in the attic. So my husband graciously started, making more space up there. And I ended up pulling everything down that I could. And I started reorganizing things. I saved paper towel rolls, toilet paper rolls, tissue boxes, egg cartons, all kind of things like that. And I needed to start making an inventory. So instead of just sending my kids off and saying, go do something, I said, hey, I need your help. I'm going to pay you, and I need your help. I said, okay. So as I'm bringing things down from the attic, they're counting the things that I have, the supplies that I have. Ella is starting to put together my library. I have tons and tons of books. So to be able to have a library and to be able to see, oh yeah, we have all of these books, and now we can use them. People can put them in the borrow box. I know who has them, or I can teach from this book, right? All of those things. There's a multitude of reasons why we're doing this, right? They were a part of that. They got to see the nitty-gritty part of it, not the fun, let's go have an event and let's have fun. No, there's nitty-gritty stuff. When I record podcasts or when I edit them, Ella comes in often and she says, I just want to see what you're doing. I just want to watch. And trust me, there are times when maybe I'm stressed because I don't have a ton of time, or, different times in my cycle, different things like that, right? And I'm just like, okay, take a breath. Because yes, sometimes we don't want to teach, but it's those little moments. They don't need a lot. They just want a few minutes. They're not asking for the whole thing. They just want to see what we're doing. Oh yeah, I record and now I add the intro and I add the outro and, I make sure it sounds good and pop, there we go. Now she's learned a new skill. It's how she learned how to do Canva. She watched me. She was a part of it. How have they learned how to be on camera and record videos? Well, they were a part of it for many years, but they watched me. They are always watching us. So invite them into your space. Have specific times to work with them and say, you know what? Because you've got to fill their cup up. So then that way they feel like, yes, I got some quality time with mom. And now she's going to work and I'm not going to interrupt her. And then I'm going to have some more quality time. So let's talk about this a little bit as we get into the summertime, right? Where schedules are going to be different looking. Maybe your kids do go to school and they're going to be home for the summer and you still have your responsibilities. You still have to work. You still have to run your business, all those things. The schedule has to change just a little bit though, because now they're home. Okay, maybe that means you got to get up a little earlier. Or maybe you got to shift some things around a little bit. We got to be flexible. We got to change things up to meet their needs. So before you sit down to work and do the nitty-gritty work of the computer, give them 5 to 10 minutes and say, you know what? Let's read a story together. Let's throw the ball together. Let's go for a walk. Fill their cup up. So then that way they feel full and say, you know what? I'm going to work for a couple hours. Set those expectations, right? This is what it's going to look like. And then after that, we're going to have time to be together. We're going to make lunch together, or we're going to read together, or, whatever that looks like. And then what does it look like after work? Does that mean that what do you want to do? Ask them. What do you want to do? You want to go to the park? Yeah, let's make time for that. You want to go to the pool? Sure, let's make time for that. Right? So pouring into them in all of those ways, so meaningful. And it can be both. It can be running a business while you're at the pool. It may look different. Your tasks may look different, right? I know that I'm going to take my laptop, take him to the pool, and the work that I'm going to do there is not going to be recording a podcast, but it could be my inventory. It could be adding more books to the library. It could be creating another level of my curriculum. It could be reaching out to new leads, new families. It could be coming up with new ideas, social media posts. Like there's so many things that we can do that can go with us. And don't let that image of like, oh, well, my kids are playing and I'm going to be on my phone. Someone's going to judge me. So what? So what? Remember, it's you and your family. It doesn't matter. But make time for them too, right? You don't want to be on your phone the whole time, but maybe you do throw the ball to them. Maybe you run around with them, or maybe you get in the pool for a little bit, but then you got to get back to your work. It's like we talked about, sometimes we have to make time for that rest, because then we're going to be able to really do well in the next task that we have, because we took a break. And that goes for our kids too. So if you want this, you are allowed to create that life that works for your family. If you are like, yes, I've been called to do this, but I don't know how I would do it. I don't even know where to start. I don't know how it would work for my family. I don't have the support. I don't have the resources. I understand that. Definitely. Because it's a challenge. And there are sacrifices that are made, but I promise you those rewards are going to be so much greater. And remember, you don't have to follow anyone else's schedule. You don't have to do it like anyone else. That's one of the beauties of when I work with families, because I can say, what's your schedule like? What's your support like? What are your resources? Let's make a plan that fits your family's needs, not anyone else's. It's for you specifically. So that's where the Home Education with Ease membership comes in, because I know that you want to educate your kids with intention. I know that you don't want to be overwhelmed, that you don't want to feel stressed out, like one more thing on my plate. You want it to be easy. You want it to be joyful. You want your kids to enjoy it, and you want to enjoy it, because you don't need one more thing that's going to stress you out. We have so much stress in this world, and our bodies and our nervous systems feel that, and they're on overload. That's one of the things I love leaning into as well. That's why, I talk about health and wellness. I talk about motherhood. I talk about teaching moments where we're teaching our kids throughout life, because everything can be a teaching moment. And of course, EduPlay Learning, where everything can be fun and meaningful. And yes, that changes as your kids get older. It's easy to make it fun and exciting when your kids are 3 through 7, even younger than that. But they're still like, yes, everything's so exciting and fun. And then you have to change and adapt. Trust me, that's been a challenge for me to be like, wait, you don't want to do this craft with me anymore? I get it though. They're like, Mom, I want to do, science experiments, and I want to cook and make recipes. And I'm like, okay, I'll just craft by myself. But you have to adapt. So it's not about adding more to your plate. It's about helping you create these rhythms, this, learning style for your specific family, helping you feel confident in what you're doing, and helping your children to have that independence and confidence and that kindness that we want, right? We're looking for that balance. It can happen. I promise you it can. Between motherhood and life and business or work, right? We can balance it all out and make it peaceful. So a few things in the membership, you're going to find that support and that encouragement from like-minded moms. So many times it's like, oh, I feel all alone. I feel like I'm doing this all by myself. You don't have to. I promise you, I got you. I'm going to link arms with so many of you that are like-minded, that we're just going to share our stories, because so many of you have reached out to me and I'm like, wait a second. So many of you have businesses and you want to educate your kids. I got you. I've been doing this. I've already been doing this for many years, and it's working out, and I can help you and I can show you the way. So ideas and activities, and how can we make this actually happen, create those routines that fit your family and no one else's, and help you have a community that helps you to rise up, helps you to step into your power, helps your children to step into their power and be able to do it easily, with joy. It doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be complicated and hard, even though there will be, right? There will be challenges. I do promise that there will be moments of challenge. But it doesn't have to be overly complicated and overwhelming to you. You're not alone, and you don't have to do this alone. I'm right here to lock arms with you. So if this is a calling on your heart, I would love for you to check out the quiz down below in the show notes. There's a link for the quiz there. Like I said, you can find me on all platforms. Christine Furman, so Miss Christine Furman on Instagram, Christine Furman on Facebook, EduPlay Learning on both accounts. You can send me an email, Christine@EduPlayLearning, and so many ways to get in contact with me, and join the Home Education with Ease Facebook group and share your answer. Do you feel like you have to choose? Because you don't. But I want to know if you feel like you have to. And I want to know if your circumstances are different, and how can I help you to be able to do what you want to do, what you aspire to do, and say, you know what, this is really where my heart is calling me to go. Let's see if it can, let's work together and make that happen. So check those links out in the show notes below. But thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you for tuning in to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I hope today's episode left you feeling empowered and ready to take the next steps on your home education journey. Your support means the world to me. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. For even more resources, be sure to join the free Facebook group, Home Education with Ease, and visit eduplaylearning.com to explore programs and subscription kits. You can find the links and any other links mentioned in this episode in the show notes below. Remember, you're not alone. This community is here to support you every step of the way.